So just a quickie question. When you heard your values back to you in reverse order, what was your experience hearing them back?
Well, they're all right.
They're all right, good, okay, fine, good.
A little warm, glowy feeling.
Oh, thank
yeah.
you. So we have a continuum now. We've now set up a continuum. Warm, fuzzy feelings. So it was all right. I see what happened. Excellent. Yeah, so, and maybe for some people they're a bit abstract just reading them out. If you think about a specific situation or a job or an environment, or, man, have I got the job for you? Have I got a job for you? You're going to love this job because it'll let you do, or it'll help you, and then I kind of give you your values back to you, maybe your top 5 in reverse order. You're like, yeah, that sounds like a cool job, that sounds like a good job, that's what it's designed to do. Now, in a workshop type environment, and this is where I recommend this kind of information is elicited, I think it would probably be a little callous if a manager was briefing their team saying, oh, the service, all right, change is coming, change of woods is coming, this thing, and some people are going to be made redundant, blah, blah, and then go, but by the way, here's an activity we can do. What's important to you about a job? Oh dear. That's not the right time or space for that to happen, you know what I mean? So it's really, I think, once people have, it's got to be separate too. Yes, okay, that's happening. I think an optional type workshop as well, rather than they send people on it to make them go. Then you get double kind of whammy at that point. Expect if you're doing this in-house, expect some boo from people in the room. For those of you that are external, that would come into an environment, it's a little easier actually because you haven't got that connection, or you don't know the people so well. However. Now, why is this information perhaps useful for an individual who's experiencing change or changing with the organisation?
Because you can tailor your approach to what their key values are.
Okay, nice. Yeah. So as from an HR or L&D or manager or leader perspective, yes. Why is it useful for the individual themselves to understand this? It's stuff we know but haven't necessarily brought to our conscious mind. It's sort of unconscious stuff.
Sorry, I was just thinking perhaps we can be reassured that whatever the processes we're going through, that we're still going to have the things that we value at the end of it as part of our working criteria.
Yes, if that's the case. The other thing is, if you know what those things...
I was just about to say that if you know what the things are that you value and are going to upset you, you can recognise it when it slaps you in the face. Yes. I don't like this, and I don't like it because they haven't said thank you.
Yeah. And actually that's very relevant for change sometimes for people. It's like, I've worked with this company for 23 years and this feels like thank you, that's no thank you. So yeah, very, very true. So from an individual perspective, to know that these are the things that are why we come into work apart from getting paid, whether I'm still going to work within the organisation, whether my job changes, or whether I end up working in a different place or going self-employed or whatever happens, these are the things that I'm looking for. I would suggest, this is part of why, and this is kind of the final question on this page, why might people fear change? I would suggest that one of the reasons is because they fear losing something from this list, but they don't necessarily know that they have a list. It's an unconscious thing, it's an unconscious reaction. And so therefore, if people are aware of what the list is, they can look at it and go, ew, that's going to take that away, I don't like that, where else can I find it? So that was why there was the other question of where do you find that, or the question might be where could you find that? And genuinely for some people, it might be the very job that you do, if something from your top 3, there was a change in the organisation or your organisation, or something happened to your environment where it was going to take away one of those things from your top 3, some of you would probably think quite seriously about, is this still the thing that I want to be doing, or the place that I want to be doing it? Because it's so important. Maybe the kind of like bottom 3, yeah, well, I'll make do. I'll find something else, or I'll find a way of working that one out. I think what this does is helps to put people back in the driving seat of their life, if you like. I think that's why, again, there's that sort of feeling of uncertainty and, we're going through this and I've got no control over it. I'm a passenger in my own car, as it were. I think this is one of those things that can help people back into the driving seat. I was talking to a teacher, this was a long time ago, this was probably about, the story gets kind of further and further away, but about 15 years ago maybe, something dramatic changed in really in the kind of teaching world, or teaching profession, not just one thing, but a whole bunch of things. Well, how many of you are familiar with what were some of the changes in, what was the different, go on, go.
National curriculum.
Okay, yes. So suddenly there were these kind of things that teachers had to do. They had to abide by, and they were going to get measured and monitored, and you know, people would turn up from time to time and stare at them from the back of a classroom. That never happened. When I was at school for the how many years, 16, 17 years or whatever, I was at school. I don't think we sound a bit stupid now, but I had to keep retaking the same year. Through my schooling, never ever was there a visit for someone to come and have a look at what the teacher was doing. My brother teaches now, and it's almost like every term, or at least once a year, you can expect someone to turn up and be standing in the back of the room staring. So it's a kind of very different environment. The other thing, again, when I was at school, teachers had pretty much free rein over the way they disciplined, let's use that word, the kids. And then that got some more and more further removed from it. So there's a lot of things changed, much more paperwork, and you know, so teachers at that time apparently were kind of leaving in droves. You know, that's why there was a big push about 12, 13 years ago for teachers. You know, there are adverts on TV, become a teacher, become a teacher, become a teacher, because people just go, I don't want to do that. But I've been doing that for a lot of time, and I've taken away too much of my, you know, my list has gone. Hooray! Well, there we go. But there is always a good side. We don't always know what they are at the time. Oh, fantastic. And for some people it is the best thing that happens too. The other one was an interesting, I read this a while ago, about a tyre shop. Or it was like a, you know, where they put, I never know quite what they are, garage, kind of, they put tyres on. If your tyre goes flat, you go to this place and they change your tyre for you. And this was a small company, but they were doing quite well. So beforehand they'd had to take stuff off, you know, well, I know what I'm doing, it's by hand, that's the word I was looking for. They, you know, nuts and bolts and things like that. And so they would take stuff off. Well, the boss, because things were going quite well, bought 2 new power drills. These were kind of groovy things, nice bits of kit. Oh yes, expensive bits of kit as well. So weirdly, within 2 weeks, both of them had been decommissioned. One of them had been run over, and the other one had been dropped severely. Okay, both decommissioned. Now, just thinking about the manager, just went absolutely nuts. Of course, boss, you know, like this place, like, it's cost me how much? You know, I'm sure it's insured. However, and he just couldn't. You know, these are good things. It was like a positive change. These are good. What's the matter with everybody? But these things have been damaged. Thinking about it from a psychological contract perspective, or this kind of list of criteria, what was being potentially taken away? There are a whole bunch of things, but what do you imagine? What could we say had been taken away from, it was guys, you know, from the guys?
Skill.
Okay, so there was a couple of natural thing, it's a type 1, yeah. Yeah, so they had lost their banter, you know, around that, yes?
Control.
Okay, fair enough.
Time, because they might not need so many people to do the job.
Maybe there was a little bit of worry in the background there, yeah. What is true of drills?
Sorry.
Guys, what is true of drills?
Noisy?
Noisy, thank you. You don't have to use a drill.
Tell you what handbag it's on.
So there was this handbag shop, okay? Oh man, they're noisy. You know, you don't have to use a drill to know that they're very noisy. So now think about noise. What was it stopping them from doing? Chatting and listening to the radio. Yeah, they couldn't talk, they couldn't chat while they were doing it. And that was their big thing. It was very important to them. It wasn't the most entertaining of jobs in the world, so therefore that was one of the things they had, was, you know, camaraderie, the banter, that kind of thing. So it removed that. So that was a kind of just an interesting, sometimes a change looks good, but if you know, so therefore, all of you, I encourage you that if you are involved in change in any way, shape or form, think about what might people lose, even though it might be a very positive change, what might people lose from their list as a result of this change. There will always be loss of something during change, and always a gain of something as well. That's the deal. I could be wrong. You know, I've yet to come across a change that was a total win for everybody, for everything. You know, even a system change, whatever it is, there's going to be a loss of something. So think about that one from that perspective, and you will understand the resistance. Does that make sense? You can predict what some of the resistance, and if you know people, you can probably predict who will find this particular one more challenging as well. Sometimes it's always the same people, however. They have a big list of things. Or maybe they've just got one thing, maybe it's just one thing they have on their list, and that's to be left alone. Let them get on with their job. That's my one thing on my list, leave me alone.